Given a is equals to square root of x minus square root of 2 and b is square root of x plus square root of 2, you're told to find what's the value of ab. Okay, so we're going to multiply a and b, which is in terms of x and root 2, right? So ab, before we proceed, so what is a minus b times a plus b? So a minus b is a times a is a squared, and then we multiply a times a b, that's going to be a ab, and what we have is a negative b times a is of course negative ba, but we have to rearrange it and write it in alphabetical order. So ba is the same as ab, so that's why I've written ab, and the minus sign is because this is a negative, this is positive, so negative b times positive a is going to give you negative ab. And then the last term is this is a minus and that's a plus, so minus times plus is going to become minus, and b times b is of course square of b, so b squared. So now if you look at the middle terms, okay, so we have got a plus ab and then a minus ab, and these two can cancel each other because you add a value and you subtract a value, it's equivalent to not adding anything at all. So we could cancel them, and therefore that's going to be equals to a squared minus b squared. So I want you to remember this rule, okay? A minus b times a plus b is of course going to become a squared minus b squared. So you can apply this readily in any of the questions when you want to solve. So now let's go to ab, okay? So since a is given to you as a square root x minus square root 2, so that's what I've written here, and b is square root x plus square root 2, and when we are told to do a times b, ab, so what it actually means is a value is root x minus root 2, right? That's what's given here, and b value is root x plus root 2, okay? And the moment you write this down, you can recognize that this looks like this, right? A minus b. So can you see your a is root x and your b is root 2, so it's a minus b, and the other bracket contains a root x plus root 2, so which is like a plus b. So if you just compare this with this, can you see that the a is actually square root of x and your b is the square root of 2. So when we want to apply the special product, so it's going to be a squared minus b squared, and what would be the value of a? So we can apply this result straight away. So the value of your a is square root x, and then we put the square because a is supposed to be a squared minus, then root 2 is the value of b, so we square it. So the square and the square root signs can cancel now at the next step. So the square and the square root, if we cancel, that's going to be just simply a x minus, here also in the second bracket you have got a square root sign and a square sign, and we could cancel them as well, and that's going to just give us a 2. So it's x minus 2 should be the answer for a times b. Now let's look at how we can find the value for a squared, okay? So for that also, that's a special product. So before we actually plunge into how to solve what's the value of a squared, so let's do the expansion of a minus b squared, okay? So a minus b squared means a minus b times a minus b, because it's repeated twice, right? So it's squared. So now if you expand it, a times a is going to give you a squared, and then you have got a times minus b, of course positive and negative is negative, a times a b is ab, and the next term would be minus b times positive a, minus plus is minus, b times a is ba, which is the same as ab if you arrange it alphabetically, and then the last one we're going to expand is minus times a minus, so what would it become? Negative and negative is going to become positive, b times a b is going to become b squared. Now we have got a squared minus ab and minus one more ab plus b squared. So if you minus ab once and minus ab once more, so you are subtracting ab twice. So it's going to be a squared minus 2ab, because ab and the ab is subtracted twice, so minus 2 times the ab and plus b squared. And therefore we can see that a minus b, if we square it, it is the same as a squared minus 2ab plus b squared. So this is what we get when we expand a minus b squared. Now what's the relevance of this in solving the part 2? Now in the part 2 we are asked to solve for the value of a squared, and of course the a has been given to you as a square root x minus square root 2. So that's your a. So when I say solve for the value of a squared, so it's going to be a squared. So that means you're going to take this term and you're going to square it. Of course, one other way would be to perform from the basic, where we expand out everything. But I don't want you to waste your time doing that, so we can apply the special product here, a squared minus 2ab plus b squared. So you can compare this with this, the left hand side. So a is square root x and b is square root 2. So the right hand side is going to become a squared, so root x squared. So you can see that, because when I substitute my a with root x, so root x and a squared, then followed by a negative sign, so minus 2 times the a value, of course, is still root x, and the b value is of course root 2, if you compare it, so square root 2. Then so we have written minus 2ab, so we have written all the terms here, and what else we have left, plus b squared. And what's your b value? So we should remember to put a plus, and b value is square root 2, so we're going to write plus root 2 squared. Now those things that has got a square and the square root, we know that we can cancel them. So square root x and the 2, the square, can cancel. That's going to be just leaving us with just the x. Then we can also go to the last term. You can see here there's a square root sign and there's a square sign. We can cancel them, and of course that's going to leave us with a 2, and there's a plus in front, so we write a plus 2. And then we're going to merge these two square root signs together. So the minus 2, I'm just going to copy down. So that's a minus 2. And then, of course, we will rearrange it such that the number comes to the front and the root x goes to the back. So it's going to be root 2 times the root x. And of course, if you wish that you could actually simplify this by putting in the root 2 and root x together. So you just look at this term, root 2 times root x. So since the square root sign belongs to each of them and it is a multiplication, we can combine it together and write it as square root of 2x. So that leaves option D as the correct option. You can say x plus 2 minus 2 times root of 2x. Now of course at this stage we can already see, so D looks like the answer. So but we will evaluate to b squared as well, just to be absolutely sure. So for that, a plus b squared, if you expand it, it's going to be a plus b times a plus b. And once again, if you expand, a times a is going to be a squared, and then you have got a times b, that's a plus ab, and plus b times a, that's a plus ba. Of course, when you write in alphabetical order, it should be plus ab, and the last term is plus b times plus b, that should be a plus b squared. And there's one ab plus one more ab, that's going to become altogether 2ab, right? And we have got a plus b squared. Therefore the special product is a plus b. If you square it and expand it, it's going to be simply a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. So this is the result that we're going to use to solve the third part of the problem. So since your b is given as a root x plus root 2, you can say in the question b is to be root x plus root 2. So we want b squared, so that means root x plus root 2 squared. So this looks exactly similar to a plus b squared. So if you were to compare it, you can see that a is root x and b is root 2. So we can just substitute into the right side of the expression, which is a squared. So your a, since it's a root x, so we're going to write root x squared. Then we have got a plus 2, then we write a plus 2, then a is root x and b is root 2, so I have just followed exactly like this, plus b squared. So your b is root 2, right? So we're going to write plus root 2, then we put a square. Then those terms that has got a square and square root, they can cancel. So let's apply that to the first bracket, and we cancel the square root sign and the square sign for the root x. So we just going to get just the x alone. And if you go to the last term, there's a root 2 and a square, so we can once again cancel the root and the square. So that's going to give us a plus 2 because there's a plus here. And the middle term is a plus, then there is a 2, so we're going to write a plus 2, but of course we're going to rearrange We're going to write the root 2 first, because always the number precedes the alphabet. So then we're going to write the root x. And we can see that there is a root x and a root 2 together. So we can combine them into one single square root symbol, and we can write it as root of 2x. So that leaves definitely option D as the correct option that contains all the answers correctly.